July is not a time to stop planting. For most American gardeners, it is actually one of the most underused windows in the entire growing calendar. While everyone else has packed up the seed packets and shifted into maintenance mode, the gardeners who know what they are doing are out there putting things in the ground right now and setting themselves up for the most productive late summer and fall they have ever had. Miss this window and you are not just leaving food on the table. You are looking at a long, empty stretch between your summer harvest wrapping up and your grocery bill climbing again in October and November, dollar by dollar, week by week. I have been growing food in American soil for over 25 years, and I am going to walk you through the 11 crops that experienced gardeners are quietly seeding right now, while everybody else assumes the planting season is finished. Stay with me through this entire video because crop number 6 is the one most home gardeners skip entirely. And it is without question the single largest regret I hear every single October when it is already too late to do anything about it. The numbers on what you actually lose by missing that window are going to surprise you. Before we go any further, I want you to do one thing right now. Drop your US state or your USDA hardiness zone in the comments below. Tell me where you are gardening. Zone 6 in Virginia, Zone 9 in California, Zone 4 in Wisconsin. It matters more than almost anything else in this conversation because July planting windows are not the same in Minnesota as they are in Texas. Not even close. Every zone that comes in helps this channel build a real and accurate picture of where American gardeners are actually growing food. Drop it now. I read every single one. Crop number 1, fall lettuce and salad greens. Here is what most gardeners do not realize. The lettuce they struggled with back in the heat of late May and June was not failing because of anything they did wrong. It was failing because lettuce does not want summer heat. It bolts, it turns bitter, and it gives up. But here is the thing. Lettuce is a cool season crop, and July seeding puts you right at the front edge of the fall window when those cooler nights in August and September are exactly what this plant is waiting for. Direct seed now and you will be cutting fresh salad greens in 45 to 55 days. That puts your first real harvest right at the end of August into September, exactly when grocery store produce prices quietly start climbing again. The varieties that perform in a July seeding are different from what you would plant in March. Black-seeded Simpson is one of the fastest loose-leaf varieties, ready in 45 days and extremely tolerant of the transition between summer heat and early fall cool. Oakleaf is another heat-tolerant selection that holds up well during the warm weeks of early establishment and matures into a productive fall producer. For a butterhead, Buttercrunch is the most reliable variety I know for bridging summer heat into fall production. Nancy is a French butterhead that germinates well in warm soil and develops exceptional flavor as temperatures cool. For cut-and-come-again production, any loose-leaf blend works well when seeded densely and harvested young. The financial case for fall lettuce is consistent and clear. Organic salad greens at a grocery store are running anywhere from $4 to $7 for a 5-ounce bag. A 4-foot by 4-foot raised bed planted with mixed greens will produce multiple cuts and deliver the rough equivalent of 8 to 12 bags of grocery store greens over the course of a 6 to 8-week harvest window. That is $30 to $80 worth of produce from a few dollars in seeds and a couple hours of work. Seed shallowly. 1/8 of an inch is enough. Lettuce seeds need light to germinate properly, and burying them too deep is one of the main reasons July sowings fail. Water the bed the evening before you plant. Seed in the morning. Shade the bed with a 30% shade cloth for the first 10 days to keep soil surface temperatures manageable while the seeds are germinating. Once the seedlings are an inch tall, remove the cloth and let them run into fall. Crop number 2, bush and pole beans for a fall harvest. Most people think of beans as a spring and early summer crop. That is a significant missed opportunity. A July sowing of bush beans in zones 4 through 7 produces a fully mature fall crop that comes in after your summer beans have finished and before your garden shuts down for winter. You are extending your harvest window by 6 to 8 weeks with almost no additional effort. Bush beans in July are fast. Provider matures in 50 to 55 days. Contender in 50 to 55 days with superior heat tolerance during the early establishment period, which is critical in July. Top crop is another excellent performer for late-season planting, maturing in 49 days and setting pods consistently, even under uneven watering conditions. For pole beans, a July sowing in zones 5 through 8 gives you a harvest window running from mid-September into October. Rattlesnake pole bean matures in about 60 to 70 days and performs well in warm summer establishment before transitioning smoothly into fall production. Kentucky Blue is a hybrid between Kentucky Wonder and Blue Lake, maturing in 57 days, which makes it particularly well-suited to late-season planting with a shorter window before frost. Do not fertilize beans with nitrogen. I want to be absolutely direct about this. Beans fix their own nitrogen from the atmosphere through root bacteria. Adding nitrogen fertilizer works against that process and sends all the plant's energy into leaves and almost none into pods. Prepare your soil with finished compost before planting and then leave the fertility management alone. A 10-foot row of July-planted bush beans will produce 8 to 12 pounds of fresh beans over the harvest window. At current grocery store prices of $2 to $3 a pound for fresh beans, that is $24 to $36 of produce from a narrow strip of garden. Run 2 rows and put the math to work for you. Crop number 3, turnips and radishes. I want to talk about this pairing together because they serve the same purpose in a July garden. They are fast, they are productive, they perform in late-season conditions, and they are almost universally ignored by home gardeners who have not yet discovered what they are capable of. Turnips are genuinely underrated as a home garden crop. Scarlet Queen is a hybrid turnip that matures in 38 days and produces crisp, mild roots excellent for fresh eating and cooking. Purple Top White Globe is the classic American turnip, matures in 50 to 55 days, and produces large roots with exceptional storage quality. Hakare is a Japanese salad turnip with a mild, almost sweet flavor and a 40-day maturity that makes it one of the fastest root crops you can grow. The greens on turnips are edible and nutritious, which means you are again getting 2 crops from 1 planting. For radishes, French breakfast matures in 25 days, Cherry Belle in 22 to 25 days. Daikon radishes take longer, 50 to 60 days, but produce large, mild roots that store extremely well and are extraordinarily versatile in the kitchen. The financial case for turnips and radishes is straightforward. Organic radishes at specialty grocers run $3 to $5 per bunch. A 10-foot row of radishes planted now gives you multiple harvests as you succession sow every 2 weeks. Turnips at $3 to $4 per pound at farmers markets represent meaningful returns from nearly no square footage. Seed turnips ½ inch deep, 1 inch apart, and thin to 4 inches once established. Seed radishes a 1/4 inch deep and 1 inch apart. Neither crop tolerates competition from weeds during establishment, so keep the bed clean in the first 2 weeks. Once they are up and running, they require almost nothing from you. Crop number 4, kale and collard greens. Here is one of the most important things I know about fall gardening. Kale and collard greens get better as the weather gets colder. Not worse, better. The cold triggers a conversion of starch to sugar inside the leaves. A kale plant harvested in October after the first few light frosts has a genuinely different and superior flavor to the same variety harvested in August. Frost sweetens it. That is not a gardening myth. It is a real biochemical process. A July seeding of kale and collards puts you at the exact right position to take advantage of that fall sweetening window. You are establishing the plants through the warm weeks of July and August, giving them time to get root structure down, and then the cooling temperatures of September and October drive the flavor quality up right as your harvest is ramping. Lacinato kale, also called dinosaur kale or Tuscan kale, is one of the most productive and flavorful varieties for fall production. It matures in 60 to 65 days and holds on the plant without turning tough for weeks after maturity. Red Russian kale is slightly more tender and matures in 50 to 60 days. It is one of the most cold, hardy kale varieties available and will keep producing after temperatures that would stop most other crops. Winterbore is a curly kale variety with exceptional cold hardiness and heavy yield in the fall months. For collards, Flash is a hybrid variety that matures in 50 days and produces large, productive leaves through fall. Georgia Southern is the traditional southern collard and one of the most reliable and widely adapted varieties in American gardens. Fresh organic kale at a grocery store runs $3 to $5 per bunch. A well-established kale plant produces multiple cuttings over the season. 4 plants producing 3 bunches each over the course of a fall season represents $36 to $60 of produce from seeds that cost you $2. Kale also stores well after harvest. Cut stems placed in water in the refrigerator hold for 1 to 2 weeks, which makes planning ahead easy. Seed kale and collards a 1/4 to a ½ inch deep. Space seedlings 12 to 15 inches apart after thinning. Feed with a balanced fertilizer or side dress with compost at 4 weeks after germination. These are leafy crops that need a steady nitrogen supply to keep producing through the season. Crop number 5, summer squash for a second round. Most gardeners who planted zucchini and summer squash in May or June have plants that are looking rough by July. Powdery mildew has moved in, The vine borers may have done damage, the production is slowing. And here is what a lot of those gardeners do not know. You can start a completely fresh round of summer squash in July in many zones and get a clean, productive fall crop that runs all the way into October. In zones 5 through 8, a July seeding of summer squash will germinate in 3 to 5 days in warm soil and begin producing in 45 to 55 days. That puts fresh squash on your table in September and October from plants that have zero disease pressure, zero vine borer history, and full productive capacity. Patio Star is a compact bush variety suited to smaller spaces that matures in 47 days. Astia is another container-friendly bush zucchini that produces prolifically in tight spaces. For a traditional open garden bed, Black Beauty direct seeded in July performs consistently across zones 4 through 9. Costata Romanesco, an Italian heirloom with dense nutty flavor, is worth growing for this second round if you have the space, maturing in 50 to 52 days. The financial reality here is that late summer and early fall zucchini at farmers markets often commands a slight premium as the summer glut ends and supply tightens. At $2 to $3 a pound and 3 to 5 pounds per week per plant at peak production, a pair of plants from a July seeding is worth $60 to $120 through October. Seed 1 inch deep, 3 feet apart in full sun. Water at the soil level and not overhead to give these second-generation plants the cleanest possible start. Crop number 6, garlic. Stop. I need you to stay with me on this one because this is the single crop that generates more regret mail in October and November than anything else I cover on this channel. Every year, without fail, I get comments from gardeners saying they meant to plant garlic and just never got around to it. And every single one of those comments is sitting on top of a year-long wait to try again. Garlic is not planted in spring. It is not a summer crop. Garlic is planted in fall, and July is exactly when you should be ordering your seed garlic so that you have it in hand and ready when the soil cools in September and October. This is the planning window. Miss it and the seed garlic you want will be sold out at every reputable supplier before you even get to the order form. Here is the biology. Garlic needs a cold stratification period, a process called vernalization, where the planted cloves experience weeks of cold soil temperatures to trigger bulb formation the following summer. You plant in fall, it sits through winter, breaks ground in early spring, and by June or July of the following year, you are pulling full, cured, beautiful bulbs out of the ground. 1 year from a fall planting to a summer harvest. Miss the fall window and you wait a full additional year. The variety choice matters significantly. Hardneck varieties are best for zones 3 through 6. Rocambole types like German Red and Chestnut Red produce complex, rich-flavored cloves and are among the most highly regarded garlic varieties among serious homegrowers. Purple stripe types like Metechi and Persian Star are equally excellent with slightly longer storage life. Porcelain types like Music and Romanian Red are large, bulbed, productive, and store for 6 to 8 months. For zones 7 through 9, softneck varieties are better adapted to the warmer winters. Artichoke types like Incelium Red and Lord's Italian produce large bulbs with mild flavor and are extremely well adapted to mild winter conditions. Silverskin types store the longest of any garlic, sometimes up to 12 months, which is what allows commercial garlic to sit on grocery store shelves for so long. The financial case for homegrown garlic is one of the clearest I can make on this entire channel. Organic garlic at a grocery store runs $6 to $10 per pound. A single garlic bulb contains 6 to 12 cloves. Each clove you plant produces 1 full bulb. From 1 pound of seed garlic planted in fall, containing roughly 40 to 60 individual cloves, you can produce 40 to 60 full bulbs at harvest. At a conservative weight of 1/4 pound per bulb, that is 10 to 15 pounds of organic garlic from 1 pound of seed stock. At $8 per pound organic, that planting returns $80 to $120 of produce. Order your seed garlic in July. Plant it when your soil temperatures drop to 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit in fall, typically September through November depending on your zone. Separate cloves just before planting, not weeks ahead. Plant pointy end up, 2 to 3 inches deep, 6 inches apart. Mulch heavily with straw after planting to moderate winter soil temperatures and suppress early spring weeds. Do not plant grocery store garlic. It is often treated to suppress sprouting and may carry disease. Use certified seed garlic from a reputable supplier. The investment is modest and the return is substantial. Crop number 7, Swiss chard and beet greens. Swiss chard is one of the most productive and least demanding crops you can put in the ground in July, and it is consistently underrepresented in American home gardens. It germinates in 5 to 7 days in warm summer soil, tolerates heat during establishment better than most leafy greens, and then transitions seamlessly into fall production as temperatures cool. A July seeding gives you harvests running from late August through November in most zones, and in zones 7 through 10, chard will often overwinter and produce again the following spring. Fort Hook Giant is the standard white-stemmed chard, an extremely productive variety that holds up through heat and cold both. Bright Lights is a rainbow chard mix with red, yellow, orange, and white stems that is as visually striking in a garden bed as it is useful in the kitchen. Ruby Red is a red-stemmed variety with particularly good flavor and a 50-day maturity. Lucullus is a pale green-stemmed heirloom variety with exceptional cold tolerance and reliable fall and winter production in zones 6 and above. Fresh chard at a specialty grocery store or farmer's market runs $3 to $5 per bunch. An established chard plant produces cuttings repeatedly over the season without being pulled. 8 plants producing 2 bunches each per month over a 4-month fall season equals 64 bunches, which at $4 per bunch is $256 of produce equivalent from a $20 seed investment and a 10-foot row of garden space. Seed chard half an inch deep, 2 to 3 inches apart, and thin to 8 to 10 inches between plants. Side dress with compost at 4 weeks after germination. Harvest outer leaves first and work inward. The plant will continue pushing new growth from the center for months. For beet greens specifically, a July seeding of Detroit Dark Red or Chioggia puts you in position for both early greens harvests and mature roots in September and October. The greens are edible from the time the plants are 4 inches tall and the roots follow at 58 to 65 days. This is the double return that makes beets such an efficient crop. 1 planting, 2 harvests, 1 seed packet. Crop number 8, spinach. Spinach is a cool season crop that most gardeners associate exclusively with spring, that is leaving a significant second harvest on the table every year. A July seeding in zones 3 through 6 will establish plants through the warm days of early August and then kick into genuine productive mode as September temperatures arrive. Spinach does not just tolerate cool weather, it requires it for peak production and flavor quality. The germination challenge with July spinach is real, and I want to address it directly. Spinach seed germinates poorly in soil temperatures above 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot July soil is right at the edge of that threshold. The solution is pre-chilling. Place your spinach seeds in a damp paper towel, fold it, and refrigerate for 48 hours before planting. This cold treatment triggers the seeds to germinate faster and more uniformly once they hit the soil. Combined with the shade cloth technique I will cover at the end of this video, July spinach seedings can be highly successful even in zones with hot early summers. Bloomsdale Longstanding is the classic American spinach variety, productive and slow to bolt, maturing in 45 to 50 days. Space is a hybrid spinach with exceptional disease resistance and heat tolerance during establishment, maturing in 39 to 45 days. Tai is another hybrid with outstanding bolt resistance and reliable fall performance. For baby spinach production, Reflect is a quick maturing variety that produces dense, dark leaves, ideal for cut and come-again harvesting. Fresh organic spinach at a grocery store runs $4 to $7 for a 5-ounce container. A 4-foot by 4-foot bed of spinach, seeded densely in July and cut as baby greens, will produce multiple harvests and deliver the equivalent of 10 to 15 bags of grocery store spinach through fall. That is $40 to $105 of produce from seeds that cost $3. Seed spinach a 1/4 inch deep, 1 inch apart in the row, with rows 6 inches apart, thin to 3 inches between plants. Water consistently at the soil level to keep the surface moist during germination, and then reduce to deep, less frequent watering once plants are established. Crop number 9, cilantro and dill. I want to stop here and talk about herbs because I think most gardeners dramatically underestimate the financial value of growing their own culinary herbs. Here is a number that will reset how you think about this. A small clamshell of fresh cilantro at a grocery store costs $2 to $3 and weighs less than an ounce. A row of cilantro producing consistently through fall is worth more per square foot than almost any vegetable crop on this list when you price it honestly. July is an excellent month to seed both cilantro and dill, and here is why. Both are cool season crops that bolt aggressively in peak summer heat. If you tried them in May or June and watched them shoot straight to flower without producing usable leaves, that is why. A July seeding takes root in the warm soil but comes into its peak leafy production in the cooler weeks of August and September, right when the temperature stops triggering the bolt response. For cilantro, Leisure is the primary slow bolt variety, bred specifically to produce a long harvest of leaves before flowering. Calypso is another excellent bolt-resistant selection. Santo is widely available and a consistent performer for fall leaf production. For dill, fern leaf is the most compact variety, perfect for smaller gardens, and one of the slowest to bolt of any dill on the market. Bouquet is the standard variety for larger plantings with both leaf and seed production in mind. Hercules is a tall, productive dill that stands up well through fall conditions and produces generously for fresh cutting. Direct seed both crops by scattering seed thinly over prepared soil and pressing lightly into the surface. Neither herb needs to be buried more than 1/8 of an inch. Germination happens in 7 to 14 days. Succession seed every 3 weeks to maintain continuous supply. Fresh organic dill at a grocery store runs $2 to $3 per small bunch. Growing your own means harvesting within 20 minutes of needing it, which is a flavor and quality difference that anyone who cooks regularly will immediately notice. Crop number 10, fall broccoli and cauliflower. Let me tell you something about broccoli and cauliflower that changes how you think about when to grow them. These crops do not want summer heat. They want cool soil, cool nights, and a finishing period in the 45 to 65 degree range for peak head development. A head of broccoli maturing in August in the heat of summer will often be loose, bitter, and disappointing. A head of broccoli maturing in October in cool fall air will be dense, sweet, and exactly what you were hoping for. That outcome, that October harvest, requires a July start. Broccoli takes 60 to 80 days from transplant depending on variety. Cauliflower takes 70 to 85 days. Seed indoors or in a protected area in early to mid-July to have transplant-ready starts for late July and early August garden planting. They will establish through August, head up through September, and deliver their best harvest in October. For broccoli, Belstar is a hybrid variety with excellent heat tolerance during establishment and strong fall head development. Marathon is another reliable hybrid that performs consistently under variable fall conditions. Gypsy is a good choice for areas where variable fall weather can be challenging, with better flexibility and head development timing. For cauliflower, Snow Crown is one of the fastest maturing varieties at 50 days from transplant, giving it more flexibility in the planting window. Cheddar is an orange cauliflower with better flavor than white varieties and exceptional visual appeal. Graffiti is a purple cauliflower that holds its color when roasted and is one of the most popular varieties with gardeners who grow for both eating and appearance. Organic broccoli crowns at a grocery store run $2 to $4 each. Organic cauliflower heads run $3 to $6. A 4 by 8 foot raised bed can produce 8 to 10 heads of broccoli or 6 to 8 heads of cauliflower over a fall season. At $3 per head, that is $24 to $30 of broccoli from one bed. Not a dramatic number in isolation, but combined with the side shoot production of broccoli, which continues producing smaller florets for weeks after the main head is cut, the total value climbs substantially. Set transplants 12 to 18 inches apart. Water deeply and consistently. Side dress with a nitrogen-rich amendment at 4 weeks after transplanting to push strong leaf development before heading begins. Protect from cabbage worms and caterpillars with a floating row cover if those pests have been problems in past seasons. Before we get to the final crop, and I want to give you the full picture on this one because I think it is genuinely one of the most underestimated plants in American home gardening, I want to ask you something real. Think about the information you have gotten from this channel today. Specific varieties, actual planting dates by zone, real dollar values per row foot, the germination technique for spinach that most people have never heard of, the garlic ordering window that closes before most people even think about it. Where else are you getting this? Not from the seed catalog, which is designed to sell you seeds, not to build your knowledge. Not from the sign in the garden center written to move product. Not from a content creator who is being paid by a fertilizer brand to tell you to buy something. This channel is built on 25 years of actual practice. Real mistakes, real harvests, real numbers from real gardens across real American zones. If you are still watching and you have not subscribed, do it right now, not later. Now. YouTube's recommendation system works off follow signals. If you are not subscribed, the algorithm stops pushing this channel to you, and you lose access to information that directly affects what you plant and what you eat. Hit subscribe. Share this video with the one person you know who is frustrated with their garden. Send it to them before you forget. It costs you nothing, and it might be the most practically useful thing you do for them this season. Crop number 11, fall peas. Here is one of the great secrets of American vegetable gardening. Most gardeners only grow peas once in spring, and then they are done. But peas are a cool season crop, which means they have a second window in fall that is often more productive than the spring planting because the weather behaves more predictably as fall arrives than it does in the chaotic transition from winter to spring. A July seeding in zones 3 through 6 puts peas in the ground at exactly the right time for a September and October harvest. In zones 7 through 9, the fall pea window often pushes into August or even September for a November and December harvest. Either way, you are extending your growing season in both directions and getting more food from the same garden footprint. Sugar snap is the most widely planted variety for good reason. Crisp, sweet, productive, and extremely well adapted across zones 3 through 9. It matures in 60 to 70 days and produces heavily on 6 to 7 foot vines. Little Marvel is a compact shelling pea that matures in 63 days and works well in smaller garden spaces. Sugar Ann is a bush-type snap pea that matures in 56 days and does not require trellising, which makes it one of the most accessible choices for gardeners who want a low-infrastructure fall crop. Oregon Sugar Pod is a flat-podded snow pea that matures in 60 to 68 days and produces prolifically in cool fall conditions. Pea seeds need to be inoculated with rhizobium bacteria before planting if your garden soil has not grown legumes recently. The inoculant is inexpensive, widely available, and dramatically improves germination rates and early plant vigor. Seed 1.5 inches deep, 2 to 3 inches apart, along a trellis or fence that gives them something to climb. Water in well at planting and then ease back until germination to avoid rotting the seed in warm July soil. Fresh organic snap peas at a grocery store or farmer's market run $4 to $6 per half-pound bag. A 10-foot trellis of sugar snap peas will produce 6 to 10 pounds over the harvest window. At $5 per half-pound, that is $60 to $100 of produce from one trellis section. It is one of the highest value crops per linear foot you can grow in a fall garden. Now, I want to bring all of this together before I send you out to plant, because having a list of 11 crops and a rough understanding of the timing is not the same thing as having a plan you can actually execute this week. All 11 crops I have given you today are either direct seeded or started from transplant right now in July. None of them require waiting. None of them are better served by hesitation. The soil is warm, which helps establishment. The days are long, which drives vegetative growth. And the weeks ahead are going to cool progressively, which is exactly what most of these crops need to produce at their best. Let me also address one practical challenge that affects every July planting, and I want to give you the tools to solve it. July soil in most American regions is hot and dry at the surface. Seeds sitting in that surface layer, especially small-seeded crops like lettuce, spinach, carrots, and herbs, need consistent surface moisture to germinate. When the July sun dries that top half-inch of soil within hours of watering, seeds stall, go dormant, or die. This is not a zone problem. It is not a soil problem. It is a moisture management problem, and it has straightforward solutions. The night before you plant any seed crop, water the bed deeply. You want moisture down 6 to 8 inches, not just a surface sprinkle. Plant your seeds. Water again gently to settle the surface. Then lay a single layer of burlap, a piece of cardboard with small holes punched in it, or a length of floating row cover directly over the seeded area. This covering reduces surface soil temperatures by 6 to 10 degrees during peak midday sun and dramatically slows moisture loss from evaporation. Lift a corner and check daily. The moment you see seedling tips pushing through, remove the cover immediately. Seedlings reaching for light under a cover will stretch and weaken within 24 to 48 hours if you leave the cover on too long. Check it every day. Remove it the moment you see green. Shade cloth stretched over wire hoops above newly seeded beds is another tool that deserves far more use in American home gardens than it currently gets. A 30 to 40% shade cloth reduces soil surface temperature measurably through the midday window and creates a microclimate that keeps moisture in the root zone longer. Once your seedlings are 2 inches tall and visibly established, remove the cloth and give them full sun. Compost is the single most effective soil amendment for July planting success. Work 2 to 3 inches of finished compost into the top 6 inches of your planting bed before you put a single seed in the ground. Compost improves water retention in both sandy and clay soils, moderates soil temperature swings, and provides a slow release of nutrients that supports early plant development without burning tender seedlings. After germination, 1 to 2 inches of straw mulch applied around seedlings, not on top of them but surrounding them, keeps root zone temperatures lower than bare soil and dramatically reduces surface moisture loss. One final technique worth knowing. For seeds with hard outer coatings, peas and beets especially, A short soak in room temperature water before planting speeds germination significantly. Peas benefit from a 4 to 6 hour soak. Beets from 2 to 3 hours. This softens the seed coat, allows initial moisture uptake, and means germination happens faster and more uniformly than from completely dry seeds. A faster, more uniform germination in July means the seedlings are up and past the vulnerable surface stage before the soil has a chance to dry out and stall them. None of these techniques are complicated. Every one of them is the kind of specific, practical knowledge that comes from years of trial and experience and not from anything you will find on a tag in a garden center display. Let me bring this home for you. You have 11 crops in front of you. Every single one of them belongs in July soil. Every single one produces a real, tangible harvest in late summer and fall, and every single one of them becomes harder to grow from seed this season the longer you wait. July is not a slow month in the garden. It is a window, and right now that window is open. Here is what I want you to do before this week is out. Pick 3 crops from this list. Not all 11, 3. Choose based on your zone, your available space, and what you actually cook and eat. If you have a row in full sun and nothing in it right now, plant beans. You will have them on your table in 50 days. If you have never grown garlic, order your seed garlic this week while the best varieties are still available. If you have a partial shade area that gets morning sun, that is your lettuce and spinach bed. Do not be the gardener who watches this video in September and realizes they had the window and let it close. The gardeners who act on this information this week will be walking into their gardens in October with a harvest basket that proves they understood the timing. That is not a complicated outcome. It is just the result of knowing what to plant and when to plant it, and then actually doing it. Drop your USDA zone in the comments right now. Tell me which 3 crops you are putting in the ground this week. I read every comment and I want to know where you are and what you are growing. If you have a neighbor, a friend, a family member who has been frustrated with their garden this year, send this video to them today. This is the kind of specific information that changes how people approach growing food. Not just for one season, permanently. Subscribe if you have not already. This channel is here every single week with real information, real variety names, real numbers, and real timing. No vague advice, no product promotions, just what actually works in actual American gardens. Now go put something in the ground.